The EOA is what the staff call the CALS Encyclopedia of Arkansas. It is a free digital resource produced by the Central Arkansas Library System. The entries cover all aspects of Arkansas history and culture. The EOA is the place to go for information on all things Arkansas. During its first month online, the EOA had about 47,000 visits. By 2019, we received more than 1.6 million visits annually, the majority of which come from within the state. The EOA has been cited in local, state, national, and even international media. State and local government leaders have turned to it when drafting laws or resolutions. Because the EOA entries are reviewed by topical experts and fact-checked for accuracy, it is even cited in major academic works. However, the greatest usage likely comes from high school and university students. The EOA is huge. To date, we have more than 6,000 entries covering all aspects of life in the state, as well as more than 9,000 pieces of media, images, documents, and more. And our definition of culture is broad. Entries and pieces of media cover everything from the state's hundreds and hundreds of towns, Civil War military engagements of all sizes, historic properties, notable buildings, political leaders, religious denominations, writers and artists, plants and animals, geographic features, businesses and industries, and much, much more. The EOA covers all known aspects related to the human habitation of the state from 10,000 BC to the present day. However, entries on fossils, for example, extend the site's content back millions of years. So who is in charge of this thing, and where did all that information come from? The EOA is currently overseen by a small staff based in the Bobby L. Roberts Library in downtown Little Rock. The staff includes an editor, an assistant editor, a staff historian, a media editor, and an editorial assistant. But the content comes from a variety of sources. Although the staff of the CALS Encyclopedia of Arkansas have written some entries and taken some pictures, most of the content comes from the public. These include professional historians and writers from across the world, local historians, students, retirees, librarians and archivists, scientists, and many more. Anyone who is willing to research a topic and follow the editorial process can contribute to the CALS Encyclopedia of Arkansas. The media online at the CALS Encyclopedia of Arkansas likewise comes from a variety of sources. Although we have used historic images from CAL's own photograph collections, other images come courtesy of other state archives or libraries, historical societies, and even private individuals. What makes the encyclopedia such a trusted source? Entries in the EOA go through a rigorous editorial process before being uploaded. First, the editor reads the raw entry before passing it to the staff historian. Both the editor and staff historian will jot down questions they have during the first read. Then the staff historian chooses an outside reader to examine the entry. Once the outside reader has looked it over, the staff returns the entry to the author with suggested revisions. When the revised entry is submitted, the editor looks over it again before passing it back to the staff historian. The staff historian fact-checks it himself or oversees the fact-checking work of another staff member, volunteer, or intern. After the entry is fact-checked, it is passed along to the assistant editor for copy editing. After the assistant editor dots all the I's and crosses all the T's, the final proof copy is returned to the author. And once the author signs off on it, it is uploaded to the website. And entries are always changing. For example, when an Arkansas musician puts out a new album, or an Arkansas town is struck by a tornado, or the Arkansas General Assembly changes or implements a significant law. All these developments must be noted and updated on the EOA. We work to stay current with the news in order to keep entries up to date, and every entry features a For Additional Information section, listing books, articles, websites, and more. And as new material is published relevant to an entry, this section needs to be updated as well. All that said, some errors do creep into the process. For example, an author may have been relying upon secondary sources that have since proven to be inaccurate, or maybe staff failed to note a basic typo. When a reader emails the staff about an error, we investigate it by double-checking our fact-checking and looking into new sources that have become available since the entry went live. If it is, in fact, an error, we'll update the entry with new information. How to browse. When the cursor is moved over the Browse button at the top of the screen, you have the option to browse Entries or Media. All entries, or all media, will allow you to see everything in alphabetical order. You can use the alphabet at the top of the Browse page to skip ahead to a letter. You can also browse the entries or media by category. This page gives you a variety of subject categories as well as time periods, race, gender, and type. Selecting an option opens a page listing relevant entries in alphabetical order. Once again, you can use the alphabet at the top of the screen to skip ahead. Some of the subject categories have the option of narrowing into subcategories. If you look at the left side of the screen, you will see the available subcategories. How to search. Selecting the search icon will open a pop-up window with several different options. Below the search box, you have buttons to narrow your search to entries, media, or both. The default for search is entries. Further down, you will see optional search filters to narrow your search by race, time period, gender, and other options. If you do not find what you are searching for, you may want to remove some of your filters. How do I report an error or request an update to an entry? At the bottom of each entry is a hyperlink that reads, "Submit a correction." Click on that and fill out the form that appears. Missing entries. Why does the EOA not have a certain entry? Well, we are a work in progress with material being added all the time. Most of our growth comes from readers' suggestions, and we would love to hear yours. From the Get Involved tab at the top of the page, choose Nominate an Entry. Fill out and submit the form to send us your suggestions. Media permissions. The EOA gives high visibility to a lot of media, and readers often seek permission to use an image on their own website or publication. The EOA only has permission to use these images on our site and cannot give permission to third parties to use these images. However, we do give information on who to request that permission from. Beneath each image is a credit line listing the rights holder. For example, courtesy of the Arkansas State Archives. It is best to contact the rights holder directly, but if the reader is having difficulty locating the rights holder, you can contact the editor of the encyclopedia. Contacting an author. We don't give out the personal contact information for our various writers unless that is already publicly available. However, we will happily forward a message to the individual in question. Please email your request to the editor. Additional information. If a reader is wanting to know more about an entry, direct them to the For Additional Information section at the very bottom of the entry.